Hey everybody, Chris Bober here. I'm an 8-year NFL veteran and the founder of the newly rebranded Bober Academy. And our mission is to help make great O-linemen. And not only are we going to teach and talk about how to play the game of football, we're going to talk about a little bit how to stay on the field, how to injury prevention. And I'm here today with Nolan Clausen. He is the owner of Midwest Movement here in Elkhorn. Tell us a little bit about what you do here at Midwest Movement.
All right, so we're a chiropractic clinic, but we're also functional rehab. So we work a lot with athletes, weekend warriors, type of individuals that we not only just adjust, but we try to get people back into whatever they love, sports, races, things like that. But we do a huge emphasis on exercise. So.
And Nolan, just like myself, is a former college football player, so he really appreciates the aspect of football. He played tight end down at Nebraska Wesleyan. But today we're going to really talk about injury prevention. Now, as an offensive line, we're big, strong, tough guys, but injuries happen. So tell us a little bit about, or explain to us about some injury prevention and how we can, then we'll talk about how to apply it to O-linemen.
So what we see a lot, especially with the younger athletes, is we see that they need to get mobility first as the foundation of everything in their performance. Then we want to control, so be able to control that movement, the mobility that we gain, and then we want to build strength on top of that. What we see a lot with some of these younger athletes and some of the athletes that are getting injured quite often is they have this basically on its head. So people are so worried about developing strength at a young age, and then they don't have that control and they don't have that mobility. And so basically, when we are seeing these people, these athletes in our office, it's because they have this backwards. So we have to start from the ground up, and we got to start working on mobility, control, and then we start strength. So if we can do this before you get injured, it's going to go a long ways to preventing injuries.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about how this applies to offensive line. Now, it's amazing here because I talk about in the building blocks of O-line success is to have a good foundation. Now, that triangle looks a lot like a football position. I teach how to be, have power, you want to have balance with width, and you want to have leverage, right? But when I'm in this position, as offensive lineman, I'm teaching you to be blocking someone like this. Well, you're susceptible here to people falling into you, and I want to have you be kind of knock-knees to access your power.
Right.
But actually, you're kind of putting yourself in position to potentially have some ACL or other knee injuries.
Right.
So how would you tell offensive linemen to prevent injuries with being in this position so much?
So if we go back to our triangle, so if you go into your position, the two limiters of our knee is a kind of it's not a fragile joint, but it's only moves in one direction. So when we get hit in other directions and it goes the other, not just bending this way, that's when we're susceptible to injuries. So we talk about the joint above it and the joint below it. So we want to be mobile with our hips and our ankles so that if we do get get hit from the side, then we can get out of the way of that injury quickly, and we're not going end limits of our hip or ankle and then the knee gives. So that goes back to that mobility piece. Then we talk about control. So basically, if somebody came in and hit him, he's able to control that motion so it doesn't just forcefully go in, but he's also able to control it back out. He's also able to control his hips so that his hips can give a little bit, and so his ankles also can give a little bit. So if we have that muscular control of that joint, then basically we can have control of that knee a little bit more. Then we talk about strength, especially when we talk about knee injuries. So we talk a lot about unilateral training or training on one leg, and that's because it's going to happen on the football field. It's a contact sport. You're going to get hit or be in a compromised position. So can we withstand that position? Can somebody hit us from the side and we hold solid? So that's where that strength piece comes in.
Yeah, I know that all my career, especially when I was young, it's okay, how much weight can you put on the bar?
Right.
How much bench press can you do, stuff like that. And this applies to every joint out there. But would you say that you should be spending as much time on the non-strength part of it with the mobility and the control as you are in strength? I mean, you don't want to just go bench press and squat all day and then call it a day and go home and eat dinner, right?
Yes.
You want to add as much to it with the strength add the mobility, add the control, stuff like that.
Right. And there's really good ways. There's a lot of good trainers that are doing this already. So they're doing mobility and control work at the beginning of your workouts. And then your strength portion is somewhere in the middle. And then they have a conditioning phase, right? So a lot of good trainers are doing this already. But I would say that the more you can do this outside of just your training regimen, the better you're going to be off with.
Yeah, and I'm
injuries.
going to rely on Nolan to give us some examples, and we're going to share those later because we want to be able to continue to give you tools to go out there and be successful. But don't just work on the strength part, right?
Right.
I mean, it's great. You see these guys; they look like Tarzan, they play like Jane, mostly because all they could do is push weight.
Right.
But football is a very functional exercise, right?
Right.
And you don't know what kind of position you're going to be in. Some of the best players I played with weren't always the guys who could push the most weight. They're the
Right.
guys who had the most. They were the most mobile, they had the most control, the most functional strength on the field. So look, we're going to share this everywhere. If you like this, please click the little subscribe button, like, comment, and share. I'll also share more information about Midwest Movement and what they do. They're here in Elkhorn, Nebraska. They do a great job getting people back into the game.
Yep.
And Nolan's also going to share with us, maybe in the future, some exercises, especially O-lineman, your hips. Ankle flexibility is a huge deal.
Right.
You can't do, I mean, you can strengthen your knee, but most of it comes with the joints around it. So
Right.
you got the knee, you got shoulders and elbows that are susceptible. So we're going to share lots of information going forward about this. So Nolan, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you helping us out
Yeah,
here.
thank
If you
you.
need more, I will share all of Nolan's information down below. So thanks for tuning in. We want to get you back on the field, and Bober Academy is here to make some great linemen. Thank you. All right.
Cool. That went well.